So this new Tourism Australia video ad is a danger to people's lives, and I'm going to explain why. I'm not going to show the whole ad, you can go watch it somewhere else, only the parts which involve a four-wheel drive.
With my phone, you...
Now here's the first problem. This vehicle has got way too much speed. In fact, it has got all four wheels off the ground, and you simply do not need that amount of speed to get that vehicle over that dune. And if you do, then well, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. Now let's also look at another important omission, which is it doesn't have a sand flag. Now what is a sand flag? It's a large pole with a flag on top, which we put onto the roof or the bull bar of a four-wheel drive so that we can see other vehicles when they are in the dunes, and if it's not other vehicles, other people can see the vehicle. So this is what it looks like in practice. Now this is a more appropriate speed for dune driving, and you can see the effect of a sand flag. So this shows another problem. Good four-wheel driving is actually really boring, because look at the speed that I'm driving the sand dune. But take a look, there's the sand flag, and there's an important few seconds of notice before the vehicle comes up over the top, and that makes a huge difference to safety. So we've got excess speed, no sand flag. What is the actual risk out of that? Well, first of all, vehicle damage. If you launch a vehicle such that it gets all four wheels off the ground like that, you are going to damage it. There's no question about that. And then that's going to be an expensive repair bill, and it could potentially strand you, which could create a dangerous situation as well. There's also a collision risk. Clearly, the faster you go, the greater the likelihood of a collision, and then also the greater the impact if a collision does happen. And then there's no sand flag, so that just further increases the risk. And then injury risk. If you are inside this vehicle, when it lands, you are going to get one hell of a crunch, and various things in the back or the sides or interior could be flying around, dislodge, etc. Very high likelihood of some form of injury to the occupants of this vehicle, and that's excluding the externals. So that's why we don't want to see this sort of driving depicted, because of these risks, and it's not necessary. Surely there has to be a better way to create an advert to get the same impact across without this sort of irresponsibility. So here's the problem with advertising four-wheel drive. This is a stock standard Great Wall Steed straight out of the showroom, and it's ascending the biggest sand dune in the Simpson Desert, Big Red. And you can see it's doing it quite easily, probably even a bit too much momentum over the top, but certainly a lot less than what you saw in the film. And that's the problem. Good four-wheel driving is not exciting four-wheel driving, and that causes a problem for advertising agencies. Okay, on with the video.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
G'day, mate. Just going for a stroll?
Something took my phone.
Well, we better go find it. Oh, let's take a shortcut.
Now when you're driving, a key safety point is to look where you are going and look where you want the vehicle to go. And clearly, the driver here is not looking where he wants the vehicle to be going or where the vehicle's going, and that presents a risk, and it's unsafe. And not just a little glance, turning the body, looking at the passenger for an extended period of time. That is not a depiction now that we want to see. Now, if this was the only thing wrong with the video, I probably wouldn't have bothered make a video specifically critiquing it, but seeing as I'm here, I'm going to call it out anyway. So the risk there is losing control, because it's certainly sand. Things change from metre to metre basis, and collision, you don't see that other vehicle coming, sand flag or not. So this is irresponsible. And again, how come the creative agency couldn't have thought of another way to get this scene across without showing irresponsible driving? Okay, on with the tape.
Sea lions, you know, they can hold their breath a lot.
Now this seems to be fairly innocuous, but actually it's really dangerous for the following reasons. One, we've got excess speed here. Again, we don't need to be going that fast. In four-wheel driving, the saying is you go as slow as possible, as fast as necessary, and that is faster than is necessary. Then we take that speed and we combine it with the fact that the vehicle's top heavy. Now, putting things on a roof rack is not intrinsically wrong. We do it all the time. I do it, but it does make the vehicle more top heavy, and therefore we need to be mindful of that and slow down. So we've got speed and we've got a fair bit of weight up at the top, which is already not a great combination. We are now turning at speed as well. So that's a risk, particularly in sand, because then the outside wheels tend to dig in and then the vehicles start to roll over. And this is what we call an off-camber turn. So it's actually on a bit of a slope like that, which makes it even more likely to roll over. So that's a rollover risk, and then a rollover risk leads to potential death. Now, am I being melodramatic here by saying that a four-wheel drive driving along on a nice softer beach, maybe only 30, 40 k's an hour, could roll over and die? Well, I invite you to spend 60 seconds Googling for something like 4x4 tourist death beach or something like that. I did, and here's some examples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty easy to find over the last 10 years or so. And remember, these are just ones that I found in literally a minute, and they wouldn't necessarily involve all the ones where there was injury or there was wasn't tragic loss of life. So it actually is a problem, and we want to depict safe driving as opposed to unsafe driving so this doesn't happen. And here's another example. I went to Brisbane, and one of the things I did was interview the parents of this young fella here, Harry, who actually lost his life due to hoon driving at Bribie Island Beach. And I made a video about that called Loser Drivers. I don't often ask people to watch my videos, but I would like you to please watch that video, because it presents what the problem is and also what I believe realistic solutions are to this problem of hoon driving. We all want to enjoy our cars, but I believe there's a way to do it. So why isn't that advert just harmless fun? What does it matter if we show a car bouncing around there? Who cares? It's just a bit of fun. It's not real. Doesn't matter. Lighten up. Kind of hard to lighten up when you've seen the sort of stuff that I've seen on beaches and talked to the people who have suffered as a result. So here's why it's a problem. Humans are influenced by what they see, and it doesn't need to be a message saying it is okay to drive like a hoon on beach. Here's an example, Formula One race. Heineken have paid a lot of money for their logo and sign to be up there. That sign doesn't say buy Heineken beer. It doesn't say Heineken is the best. It doesn't say Heineken tastes great. It's just the logo just there, and the same for all the logos everywhere, any sporting event. They're just there to put into your mind that image, and then you think about it. It's influencing you. All we need to do is just see something and it starts to influence us, particularly if that thing we see is a depiction of how to do something. And that's the base problem. The second problem is that what we see here is wrong, but it's not obviously wrong, and it's dangerous. Now, it is absolutely true that in sand driving, sometimes you do need momentum, some speed to get up over a dune. There's absolutely no question about that. And some YouTubers do take things to extreme for clicks. That's absolutely true. And what that leaves an impression with people is that this sort of thing is, if not necessary, but certainly acceptable and possible, when in fact it is highly dangerous and just wrong. So it shouldn't be promoted and shown as an example, and the same deal for that as well. And that's the issue. So to bring the point home, here's an advert from Budget Direct, which shows a Ford Ranger being lifted up by a load of balloons and drifting around a city. Now, clearly that's extremely dangerous. You don't want to be in a ute suspended by balloons wandering around a city. Very, very dangerous. But I have no problem with this ad. Why? Because it's clearly fantasy. It's impossible to take those balloons and lift up the Ranger, for starters. It just won't work. And anyone looking at it would clearly know it's a fantasy. Whereas with the hoon behaviour in the four-wheel drive depicted in the Tourism Australia ad, it is not obvious that that is not how you drive, and it's showing a bad example. So how can we solve this problem? Well, the first thing is, I think the employers of creative agencies need to say to them, you need to be socially responsible. And I'm kind of amazed that this sort of stuff doesn't happen already, or maybe it already does and the processes are broken, because they just need to consult experts in 4x4, environmental, whatever. You know, if you're showing a dog in an ad, consult a dog expert or whatever, right? You know, just run it through and just make sure that it's not going to set a bad example. Okay? And there's got to be a way to deliver these high impact, amusing adverts and stories, which are also delivered in a safe, environmentally and socially responsible way. And I'm sure all of these agencies would have on their website, oh, we're amazing, we're fabulous, incredible team, yada, yada, yada. Great, well, prove it and come up with something which is responsible, doesn't show life endangering techniques, and is as amusing and impactful and all the other words as well. If you're good enough, then do it. Because you know what? It can be done. Here's an example from Mitsubishi, which I've analysed on my YouTube channel, and they actually show a recovery, which is about the most dangerous four-wheel drive thing you can do. But they pull it off. They show it safely, successfully, and they get their point over. So if Mitsubishi can hire an agency to do that, how come Tourism Australia can't find an agency or give them the direction to be a responsible promoter of tourism and vehicle use in Australia? So if you do work in the advertising industry in any way, I would like to hear from you. Please comment below. Explain, please, what's going on here, why these sort of checks and balances don't exist, or if they do exist, why aren't they picking this stuff up, and what we can do about it. Because the last thing we need is to pick more broken four-wheel drives and bodies off a beach, and every time we see this sort of poor behaviour and driving, that just hammers literally another little nail in someone's coffin. And I don't want to have to make another video in a few years' time interviewing more parents about their deceased children because we as an advertising industry cannot manage to do our jobs properly.